We welcome you to the NovaCare Complex. Hello, everyone. The 2020 Eagles regular season is here, and our coverage presented by DraftKings. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy on this Wednesday as Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles get ready for the Washington football team on Sunday. Fran, we've been waiting for so long for this moment. We don't really know what to expect, but we sure do hope that everyone out there is as excited as we are about the start of the 2020 regular season.
If you're a fan at home and it hasn't quite hit you yet that, like a football season is here, the NFL season is here. We have our first game tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. So the NFL is back. If you don't have that feeling yet, go on to PhiladelphiaEagles.com. Go on to the Eagles official mobile app. Check out all the content. We've got podcasts. We've got TV shows hitting the ground this week. All kinds of content that you can check out.
All right, we're going to start with a little bit of news from this morning. The Eagles announcing the team captains, and there's one of them right there. Doug Pederson at the daily meeting telling the team of the 8 captains for the entire season: Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Rodney McLeod on defense, Carson Wentz, Jason Peters, Jason Kelsey on offense, and special teams, Craig James and Duke Riley. Yeah, so 8 of them now, Fran, some of whom you probably wouldn't expect. And there's Jason Kelsey getting that belly covered up. I'm not sure if he looks more like, Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, or how about, what's the one with Mel Gibson where he's William Wallace? What's that called again? Braveheart.
Yes.
Yeah. Can't tell which one he is, but he is a team captain. And Fran, I think that this is a really good representation. Another team captain there, Rodney McLeod, picked by head coach Doug Pederson. Now, the pregame protocol, only one of those players will be able to go out to actually do the coin toss, but all 8 will walk out to the numbers, and it is clearly a huge honor.
No question. And it's cool to see a couple of these guys, first-time captains. Some Eagles fans maybe not as familiar with guys like Craig James, Duke Riley. Both guys acquired last fall, not even in the offseason, but mid-season by the Eagles. Craig James, a pivotal part of that win on the road against the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football, helped break up the pass that was picked off by Nigel Bradham. And then Duke Riley acquired in a trade just before the trade deadline and became one of the best special teams stalwarts for this Eagles football team. So really, really excited for all of those guys, all 8 of those guys. Some guys we know. We see Lane Johnson here in full pads today, which is great. But then some of those other guys, it's just great to see that honor.
Yes, we're going to keep our eyes open for some of those players who are on, I guess, the fence here about playing on Sunday. Lane Johnson, one of them. Now, Coach Doug said earlier today that Lane would take part in some individual drills. And there is Jalen Reagor also in uniform, showing a little dance swag. Number 1 draft pick, going to practice at least in some capacity today. And the same is expected for running back Miles Sanders. Whether that means they're playing against Washington, we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
So let's explain to people, Brand, how it works when you are going through the course of the week and what the teams have to report. Because to this point, the teams have only reported lower body injury, upper body injury, day by day, week to week. So what is the actual protocol here as the regular season begins?
Yeah, so now that we've gotten to this point in the regular season, the injury reports must be a little bit more specific. And then when we get a little bit later, we'll start to see the probable, questionable, doubtful, and out designations for all of these players, which, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, that begins Friday.
Friday,
right?
that's
Yep.
correct.
So,
and it can be altered for Saturday.
Correct. So, you'll start to see that. And what the preconceived notions is if it's probable, what is it, 75% chance to play, questionable 50%, doubtful 25%. So those are kind of the designations we'll keep an eye out for here in just a couple of days.
And there's somebody we expect to have a huge season. Zach Ertz, 65 receptions away from surpassing Harold Carmichael and setting a franchise record for most receptions in a career. The record now 589. And Zach Ertz has had such a tremendous career for this football team. Big things expected again in 2020 as he and Carson Wentz have this incredible chemistry, Fran. And I think I look for that a lot on Sunday against Washington.
Honestly, I'd have to look at the stats, but Zach Ertz always seems to come up big against Washington in terms of the amount of numbers. I remember he had that huge, 15 catches. It was late in the year. I think it was the 2016 season. He's always seemed to put up big numbers, reach the end zone against Washington. I don't expect that to change. I would imagine he's going to be a big part of what we see from this offense on Sunday.
And I think that is the case right there with number 10, who in the season debut last year, the opener, his return to Philadelphia, 8 catches, 150-plus yards, 2 50-plus touchdown grabs. Let's get the ball to number 10 on Sunday. Of course, the Eagles need to give Carson Wentz protection, but certainly he has the speed. There's another captain, Duke Riley, who really plays a pivotal role here, not only on defense, but on special teams, a 4-core member of the Eagles special teams. Hey, guys, this is real, okay? This is the regular season. If you're just tuning in, we welcome you to our coverage of the Eagles practice on this Wednesday, presented by DraftKings. We're going to bring you a practice per week, either Wednesday or Thursday. And we want to make sure that you stay up on everything happening at the NovaCare Complex. So make sure you catch Eagles 360 for all your news and notes about what happened around the NovaCare Complex today. Just check it out tonight on the Philadelphia Eagles official channels. There's the offensive line, friend. We don't know who's going to line up where quite yet. But we do know that guy right there, 71.
That's right.
He's your left tackle. That's where he belongs.
Doug Pederson making the announcement Monday morning, much to the delight, I think, of a lot of fans and kind of quelling the concerns, I think, that a lot of the media had about this team going in, just who was going to play at left tackle. Things still kind of open in terms of who's going to line up at right guard. Will it be that man, number 69 there, Matt Pryor? Would it be Nate Herbig? It's going to be interesting to just see how this offensive line continues to come together in the next few days.
And there's J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who I guess in theory could be a starter on Sunday.
I think so, yeah.
With Alshon Jeffrey, not likely to play. With Jalen Reagor, not likely to play. Deshaun Jackson, Greg Ward, yeah. There's Greg Ward doing a nice job in the slot. Then you go J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who excellent blocker. And we agree, Fran, that he looked more explosive in this training camp period.
Just his precision as a route runner, I thought he looked a lot crisper this summer compared to last summer. And he had a good summer last year. I mean, remember what he did in the preseason.
Yep.
I just thought this is the best that he's looked since he's donned Eagles green.
We're going to show you the Eagles warm-ups, which is what they're doing right now. Then we're going to morph into some special teams, which will be field goal and kickoff return. Miles Sanders walking on the field in uniform, and that's a great sign. We'll see if we can catch him taking any reps at all. And then we'll check out the special teams drills before we call it a night. Individual drills as well. Fran, your thoughts on Miles Sanders? And certainly everybody seems to be happy to see him, that's for sure.
No question. A dual threat back, obviously one of the better dual threat players in the NFL right now in terms of his ability to impact the game as a runner and as a pass catcher. His presence on the field for this Eagles offense, it's huge. We've talked about it throughout the course of the summer. He is a huge part of this offense. For Eagles fans that may not recognize the guy on the right there, that's Jason Huntley, who the Eagles acquired on waivers after final cuts.
Yeah, in the book on Jason Huntley, as we take a listen. Yeah. Okay, there's Duke Riley and, sorry we couldn't hear that. Duke Riley and Boston Scott mugging for the cameras. I don't think I've met a linebacker or a defensive back who doesn't love the camera.
The camera, yeah. It's definitely one of those positions where you're always looking to see who's watching you. A lot of the guys in the back seven certainly bring that level of swagger to the field.
We're at the NovaCare Complex. Insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy, the host of the Eye in the Sky podcast, as well as Journey to the Draft podcast. What days do they drop, Fran?
So the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast went out Tuesday morning. That's with myself and Greg Cosell. We did a very thorough preview of this matchup between the Eagles and the Washington football team. And we've got another episode coming, I believe, late Thursday with myself, Ben Fennell. We're going to talk to an Eagles player. We've got great plans for that one. And then the Journey to the Draft podcast, also Tuesdays and Thursdays. Not just the NFL draft, everything college football as well. But we've talked about a bunch of these players that are here on the field down here at the NovaCare Complex on that show for the last couple of years. So you can always get ahead on the action over on that show as well.
The Eagles reached the 53-man active roster limit, re-signing Richard Rodgers, an inline blocker, a red zone receiving threat. Needed that third tight end, Fran, behind Zach Ertz and behind Dallas Goedert. So some depth there, some experience. He knows the system. he'll do a fine job if the Eagles need him blocking, short yardage, pass pro, solid player.
With what the Eagles do in terms of all their multiple tight end sets, you need to have a third guy there in the rotation. Richard Rodgers, kind of a no-brainer once he didn't make it in Washington. And by the way, he's been with Washington this offseason. So I think that storyline is a little bit overrated, but it helps to get you a little bit of information. Gets you a little bit of information on your week one opponent.
You don't know what to expect from Washington.
Yeah.
New head coach in Ron Rivera.
It's true.
A new offensive coordinator who was an interim last year, Scott Turner, with the Carolina Panthers in the last few weeks of the season. So if you can pick up a bit of info here and there, why not do it? I detect a fresh coating of green in the Jalen Mills dew. That is looking boss for number 21.
I'm excited to see Jalen just in his first game at safety here this week. It's going to be really fun to be able to watch him against this Washington offense. A lot of interesting players. I think that you have some intrigue on that offense. I think a lot of Eagles fans are very familiar with Terry McLaurin, their star receiver, who was a rookie last year, kind of burst onto the scene. They've got some other young players that Jalen, Avonte Maddox, the rest of that secondary, they've got to take into account coming up this week.
And we all wonder, will Darius Big Play Slay match up against McLaurin, who last year, 12 targets, 10 receptions, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Eagles. Too many big plays in the passing game allowed by the defense. So what do the Eagles do? They remake the secondary. They trade for Darius Slay. They sign Nickel Roby-Coleman to be the nickelback. They move Jalen Mills from cornerback to safety. Avonte Maddox becomes a starter on the outside. They add Will Parks in free agency. Unfortunately, Parks is on the short-term IR. They draft Kayvon Wallace. And I think they feel like a player like Craig James, who made the big jump in training camp, and let's face it, he beat out draft picks. He beat out Rasul Douglas, and he beat out Sidney Jones.
Yep.
A defensive backfield that runs better than it did in the past. Got to stop all those X plays.
No question. And another guy as well, Jim Schwartz, talked about the versatility that Crayvon LeBlanc brings to this defense, with the ability to slide both inside and outside. I talked with Eagles defensive backs coach Marquand Manuel on Eagles game plan, which you can catch later this week on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. If you're local to the Philadelphia area, it'll also be on NBC 10 Philadelphia at 10 a.m. on Sunday. Great way to get ready for the game. And he just talked about what Darius Slay has brought to this secondary room. The not just the swagger and the attitude, but also that veteran mentorship and his ability to bring along some of the younger DBs, work with some of the younger receivers. There was a really good conversation with Coach Manuel.
And there's a lot of pressure on Big Play Slay, Fran. I get the sense that he revels in that attention with those expectations. Again, I've asked this question before. Who is the last great Eagles cornerback? And I would not say Asante Samuel. I'd say he was a big playmaker, good player. I would not say Lito Shepherd. I would not say Sheldon Brown. I would certainly not say Nnamdi Asamoah. It might be Troy Vincent.
Gotta be Troy Vincent, right? Number 23.
Dave Phipp, special teams coordinator, the best in the business. Interested to see, Fran, who in the return game lines up week one.
Another part of that too, Dave, is that with the emphasized speed on offense and defense, the special teams coverage units and the blocking units, they're going to be faster this year. It's good with the increased team speed. That overall special teams performance, I would imagine, is going to be a little bit different looking this year. I'm excited to see that group take the field.
And we kind of thought Jalen Reagor would be at least the punt return.
Right.
But I think without him, Greg Ward is next in line.
Sure.
How about returning kickoffs? Do they get Huntley into the
Boston Scott, it feels
Scott?
like could be in there. He's a guy that has done that in the past. It's a good question.
Yeah, we'll find out on Sunday. 1 o'clock kickoff, Fox. And for the third time in 4 years, it's the Eagles and Washington opening a regular season. And Doug Pederson's been excellent opening the seasons. So that
undefeated in openers, right?
Yes, he is 4-0. Including a nail-biter last year against Washington at Lincoln Financial Field. This time, FedEx Field is the location. And the Eagles lose the home field advantage with no fans.
Last time they opened up there, that season went pretty well.
Yeah. Hey, this is great to see.
It is very good to see.
Jalen Reagor catching punts, getting back into the swing of things. We don't know if he's going to play this week, but he sure is taking positive steps in this practice to get back on the field either Sunday or the following Sunday when the Eagles open the regular season at home against the very difficult Los Angeles Rams.
A little bit of a new look LA Rams. Excited to dive into them. They play the Dallas Cowboys Sunday.
Yep.
Sunday is it afternoon or Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it is. I would think it's Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, it might be Sunday Night Football.
So go out to Dallas, wherever that game is, beat Dallas, get all tired,
Yeah,
and
that's
come
right.
to Philadelphia. And
There we go.
there we go. There's Derek Barnett wearing the sweatpants,
Yeah, not in pads.
but still doing some work, taking steps to get back on the field, to get back into game shape.
I believe that's T.Y. McGill, who was added back to the practice squad today.
Really interested to see how it works with Matt Burke overseeing the D-line. We expect that to be a strength of this football team, maybe the most dominating strength of this football team. And I think on Sunday against Washington, friend, you really want to attack the left side, the new look left side of Washington's offensive line. They're strong on the right side, not so proven, we shall say, on the left side.
No question. And we talked about that on the Eagle Eye on the Sky podcast this week. You know, you look at Jaron Christian, third-year player out of Louisville, has played very little football. Even going back to high school, only played like a year or two of high school football. So, he'll be the starter at left tackle. Wes Martin was a draft pick in 2019. Didn't play too much last year. He's now the starter at left guard. So, as you mentioned, just a very inexperienced left side of the O-line. It's one of the big questions for Washington entering the year.
You know, one thing I think fans need to know a little bit, we know about Terry McLaurin and his speed and big playability. Washington loves the rookie, third-round draft pick Antonio Gibson. Not a scat back. 6 foot, 230 pounds, a thumper. And I talked about that with Zach Selby from Washington Football Team's website in the Eagles Insider podcast. He's shown great versatility, great power. I mean, he could be a really special kind of back.
He was a slot receiver at Memphis at that size, and you saw legit 4.3 speed, and a lot of people viewed him as a receiver. Washington saw him as a running back. Some people did see him as a running back. That's what he played at the Senior Bowl. We covered that on the Journey to the Draft podcast when we were down there in January, and his versatility was something that they coveted in the pre-draft process. And they add him. It looks like J.D. McKissick, who has kind of bounced around the league, is going to be the starter at running back. And he is also of that same skill set. He's kind of a running back, slot receiver hybrid. Between those two players, I think we're going to see a lot of really creative things from Washington early in this game. It's going to be up to the Eagles to kind of be ready for all that, and the communication is going to be key in that back seven.
That's the thing, being creative early in the season when you haven't had any preseason games to work on this, limited time in pads. Very difficult to pull off creatively an offense when you don't even know really what the offensive coordinator's philosophy is. You haven't really been with him long enough to know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, this is a guy, and Scott Turner, who's the offensive coordinator in Washington, going into his first full season. He really only called plays for 4 games last year in Carolina at the end of the season after Ron Rivera was fired. And so this guy, he's Norv Turner's son, longtime NFL offensive coordinator, was with the Cowboys in the 90s in their heyday. And it's going to be a lot of play action. They're going to do a lot of creative things. They're going to try and create easy throws for Dwayne Haskins. But again, with all of the creative stuff they're going to do in the backfield, it's going to be a big communication game for this Eagles defense. The lack of crowd noise, which you wouldn't necessarily worry about all the time in Washington anyway, but the lack of crowd noise, I think it certainly will be a benefit as they try and make sure that everything's buttoned up on the field early in that game on Sunday.
We welcome you to the 2020 Philadelphia Eagles regular season. Our coverage presented by DraftKings. I'm Insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy here at the NovaCare Complex. We're going to come your way once per week as we take a look at the Eagles preparing for Washington on Sunday. About 20, 25 minutes of unfettered coverage. Brent Selleck. Oh, no, that's not Brent Selleck. That's Aaron Moorhead giving some advice to Zach Ertz. Ertz in the hunt to become the all-time franchise leader in career receptions. He should pass Harold Carmichael week 12. 65 catches.
Something like that. Yep, I think so.
The goal is to get to 590. But what to do? The buzz cut's gone.
Yep.
Zach Ertz looking good, looking for a big season. Should have one in this really, really, I think, versatile, explosive, potentially Eagles offense, Fran, something the Eagles missed last year.
No question. And to add the speed that they've got, coming onto this team this year, I can't wait to just watch what that does, not just for Carson Wentz, but for those tight ends over the middle of the field, for guys like Miles Sanders in both the run game and the pass game, open up some of those opportunities underneath and in the middle, with the defense stretched out a little bit more. The defenses were able to kind of squat on the Eagles a little bit more in the second half of last year especially. I don't think that'll be necessarily the case moving forward into 2020.
And how much more can the Eagles get the football in the hands of Miles Sanders, second-year running back, doing some limited work today? We'll get the practice report later in the day and break it for you first on our Eagles social media channels, as well as PhiladelphiaEagles.com and our official app. And, oh, by the way, check out our one-on-one with head coach Doug Pederson, now available on all Eagles official channels. He's also my guest on the Eagles Insider podcast, along with Corey Clement, talking about his rise, his fall, and his rise again. So excited to be back where he belongs on the 53, getting ready for the regular season.
We get a little bit of a tease. What does Coach Pederson talk about?
Well, Pederson actually, the interesting part of the Pederson conversation is this is a road game. And in the past, in the evenings, players were given a few hours to go out, visit with friends, go have dinner, come back, 11 o'clock bed check. Now, you're not allowed out of the hotel.
Yep.
What do you do for all that time? Adjustments to be made on the fly in the NFL. And the teams that adjust to those the best are the teams that are going to win the most games. And the Eagles feel like they're in very good shape. Same coaching staff coming back. Everybody, knock on wood, COVID-19 free. And a great bit of chemistry throughout this training camp to this point. So I feel good about things.
Yep.
The big concern, of course, I guess you would agree, offensive line, how it's going to line up, and how much durability can you expect from, for example, Jason Peters at age 38.
Big test, just to come out of the gate with this Washington defensive line, which has plenty of talent with a new scheme. That is a big test going in. And obviously, it doesn't get much easier the next week with Aaron Donald coming to town here at Lincoln Financial Field. So certainly, I would say the big question mark entering the year is this group.
And the Eagles only carrying 8 offensive linemen on the roster. So a guy like Nate Herbig right there will have to play a key role. There's Duke Riley. Is that Duke Riley?
Yeah. It is Elijah Riley.
Elijah Riley, yeah. Yep, I got you. Elijah Riley. Member of the team's practice squad. Had a nice training camp.
Had a nice training camp. He was around the ball all the time.
Yep. Working on some special teams here.
Fun thing about Elijah Riley. So he was down at the Shrine game in Tampa, Florida during the pre-draft process. Bobby Taylor was coaching the DBs on that side for that All-Star game. And I was catching up with Bobby for the podcast, and after one of the practices, I said, "Hey, who's one guy who stood out to you?" Said, the Army defensive back Elijah Riley, and sure enough, ends up here in Philadelphia and had a really nice summer.
Yeah, a lot of safeties on the roster, on the practice squad, and of course, the Eagles hoping that Will Parks comes back whole and ready to play. They really thought his versatility would fit in great. Look at that footwork, big play, Slay. Crazy little week for Crevon LeBlanc, huh?
Yeah. It's but he's another one of these guys. Just had a good summer. Was always around the ball. He gave them a really tough decision in terms of you got to keep this guy, and obviously they value him and his skill set and what he means to this defense and on special teams as well.
But he did have a chance to go elsewhere.
Yep.
Chooses to stay in Philly, and we're thankful for it.
No
can
question.
Play inside, can play outside. I believe Nickel Roby-Coleman will be the new Eagle that nobody knows who's going to provide the most bang for the buck in 2020. I just think the way he plays inside, the tenacity, I just love the kid. I think it's small, but I expect big, big things from him.
Just remember how important Patrick Robinson was in 2017, especially in the back half of the year and during the playoff run. Obviously had that huge interception in the NFC title game against Minnesota. Nickel Roby-Coleman hoping to have that same kind of presence for Jim Schwartz on the inside.
And we take a look at the wide receiver group working on their technique blocking. We only think about them as pass receivers. No. There's a whole lot more to it than just running routes and catching passes. And there's the favorite activity here, Fran. The get off.
That's right.
Who do we have here? Was that
Raekwon
Williams? Yeah.
We got Vinny Curry, and I think that's Hassan Ridgeway on the other side.
Okay.
Again, all they're doing here is just reacting to that first movement from that noodle. As soon as that color moves, they're flying out of their stance.
And there's Corey Clement. Boom. Down goes Clement. That's not an easy drill.
It's not.
It just hurts my knees. Oh, this is excellent to see.
Yes.
This is excellent to see. Miles Sanders getting the work in.
Going through individual work. It's good.
Lower body injury. That's all we know. But, hey, I'll take that.
And in pads, too. I don't know if we noticed that before. He's in pads, which is good.
Joe Osman. There's Huntley.
Jason Huntley.
So what's the deal with Jason Huntley? Speed back, return man, get him in space.
He would have gotten, if there was a regular pre-draft process this spring, Dave, I feel like he would have gotten a lot more buzz. He wasn't invited to the combine. He was one of few players that really got to do his pro day and just blew up the pro day. One of the best athletic workouts from this pre-draft process. And normally, all the scouts, they're on the road, they're going from school to school, and they all talk to each other, they talk to media, and you start to, did you hear about that Huntley kid? Did you hear about that Huntley kid? Normally, that guy would rise up boards a little bit. He still ended up going in the 5th round. I bet you he probably would have gone a little bit earlier. It would have been a regular year. Didn't make the Lions out of camp. Eagles hoping to find something here. Really athletic kid, pass catcher, return man as well.
Let's watch Corey Clement. Switch back to that camera 4 if we can. See Corey get through it. Good.
Yep.
Good. Got through it. Nice.
There goes Huntley here.
Huntley, quick. Quick feet. Get those knees up. Run through contact.
Really good kick returner in college.
Interesting group. Just an interesting young group of running backs, and we're seeing that around the league. Washington releases Adrian Pederson. They're going with a largely young group as well.
Yep.
Everybody kind of thought, hey, we got to get a veteran in here. Well, there's the guy who's going to carry the football the most. Miles Sanders. Good to see him on the practice field. Not expecting to see him go through the entire practice.
Right.
But good to see him nonetheless. All right, that will do it for today's coverage of the Eagles practice as we get ready for the Washington football team on Sunday. DraftKings presenting this exclusive coverage here at the NovaCare Complex. I'm Insider Dave Spadaro along with Fran Duffy. We'll be back next week with another bit of coverage. But in the meantime, make sure you stick with us as the anticipation builds for Sunday, 1 o'clock, FedEx Field. Make sure you tune into the Philadelphia Eagles media channels at 12:30 for exclusive coverage. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have yourselves a great Eagles day, and fly, Eagles, fly.